Hi, Eric Lanask with TMC, coming to you from Cloud Expo at the Javits Center in New York. Varun, big question around cloud. It's a question that I'm sure all your customers ask, what everybody's customers ask. Is it secure?
Well, that's a great question, and if you look at all the surveys from executives in large enterprises as well as public sector today, the biggest concerns are around data security, privacy, and regulatory compliance. And really, some say it's a perception issue, but if you look at the cloud model where you're losing control of your data and now trusting a third party to hold it, there are certain concerns that come through with it, especially with the multi-tenancy model. The fact that everybody's data is stored in one place, it also means it's a big honeypot of information for the bad guys to go after. And if you look at what's happened in the last 12 to 18 months, there's been a number of attacks that have targeted cloud providers like Epsilon, where about 50 million records were breached and $4 billion worth of losses.
So some might argue that, especially in multi-tenant situations, those cloud providers would actually be motivated to ensure that their stuff is more secure than at individual enterprise levels.
Absolutely, I think the cloud providers are doing a great job on the network and the physical security side. The data centers are best of breed. Some would argue better than most private companies can afford themselves. But really, if you look at the problem today, it's around the data and how are you securing your data. And if you look at the Cloud Security Alliance's listed top threats to cloud computing, most of them revolve around the application. What if somebody breaks into the application? What if they compromise your username and password? And really, there's not much that the cloud providers can do from that model when the attacks are happening and surfacing at the web application layer.
So how do you overcome those challenges?
Right, so there's a new model to protecting that data where companies like CipherCloud are coming up with a concept of a cloud security gateway. And the idea behind the cloud security gateway is we give customers the ability to retain control over their data even though it's stored in the cloud provider's environment. And the way you can achieve that is these gateways reside inside of the customer's premises as a very lightweight solution. And as all the data is passing through that solution, customers can determine what is sensitive to them, and they can encrypt that information before it leaves their network boundary. And as a result of that, you're no longer reliant on your cloud provider to provide the right controls to protect the data, because even if something bad was to happen tomorrow, that data is fully encrypted using the customer's encryption keys and the customer's controlled encryption algorithms as well.
How do some of these security challenges impact the man on the street, if you will, with all the apps that you might download on your mobile devices?
So that's a great question, right? So mobile is obviously a whole new challenge in the enterprise today, and we're seeing a number of new technologies come on the MDM side to protect the mobile. But really what we're saying is if you can wrap your controls around the data and you can centralize the access, so now whether you're a mobile client or a PC user, you're all accessing your data through this central gateway, and the enterprise controls who can access the gateway. They could put IP restrictions if they want to, or they could have other controls such as VPN on the mobile devices. And as a result of that, I think that the customers, again, bringing back more control back into the enterprise.
What's the risk if enterprises don't have that data security?
So really the risk is what we're seeing in the industry today. Every day when you open the news, you're hearing about data loss, costing X millions of dollars. On average today, a data breach costs about $7.2 million per breach. So really what we're seeing is customers want to be proactive about it. Also, if you look just beyond the United States, a lot of regulators are now saying even if you're using the cloud, it's your responsibility to secure your data, and you have to prove the due diligence performed in securing the data. And if you're using this gateway approach, you're retaining control of that data, and you have a shared responsibility with the cloud provider, because the reality is no cloud provider will give you contractual obligation and take on the legal, the liability of protecting your data.
So when it comes to people using CipherCloud, is there some sort of guarantee regarding security and data loss?
Right, so what CipherCloud is doing is not giving them a guarantee. Really, there's no silver bullet in security, but what it's doing is letting customers control that data. Now with CipherCloud, we use standard military-grade encryption, which has been fully vetted out in the industry, and by using that technology, by controlling the encryption key in the enterprise, the customers can wrap their entire controls that they would have as if the data was on-premise, even out in the cloud. And the key to the success of these types of technologies is that you cannot break the cloud applications you're protecting. So if you just used vanilla encryption schemes, you would be breaking the cloud application because their format, validation rules would break, customers would experience latency as well. So really what we're saying is, by using something like CipherCloud, we're using format and operations preserving encryption, which does not impact your cloud application in any way, and your business continues to operate normally.
Are people buying it?
Absolutely. We're about a 2-year-old company, and we're seeing massive demand from customers, especially in the financial services space, insurance, healthcare, any vertical where there's a lot of regulated data. And our customers today are in the United States, Canada, Germany, Japan, Australia, and a couple of other countries as well.
Excellent, Varun. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Eric Lanask with TMC from Cloud Expo. Follow all of these videos and more from Cloud Expo at my Twitter account, @elanask.